Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're talking about Obergefell v. Hodges, the same-sex marriage decision, and I was just kind of finishing up here. So when we talk about, what a marriage is, when we're talking about two people, and I'll talk about polyamorous here in a second, but especially like a mom and a son wanting to get married. Okay, they're attracted to each other. Okay, I'm attracted to a lot of different kinds of women. Okay, I'm only attracted to women as it is. I can't say that I've ever been attracted to a female family member. That doesn't work for me. But I would suggest that my attraction to particular kinds of women, or all different kinds of women, whatever it happens to be, is not an immutable characteristic. And I don't know that there's ever been a lot of evidence to suggest that you are only attracted to one type of person, whether it be a family member or of a particular race or a particular ethnicity or whatever it happens to be. I don't know that that's ever truly been established by anything that's any recognizable authority. So, in a sense, you're attracted to your sister or something. Fine, it's too bad. It's too bad because it doesn't rise to the same level as your sexual identity. You can be attracted to somebody else down the road. Hopefully, we've both been married, we've both been divorced, we both realize that there are other women besides the wives that we split up from, and that's a similar situation. As far as the plural marriage is concerned, me personally, don't have the biggest problem with it from a moral standpoint, except in the sense that historically they've been domineering men over submissive women who I don't want to throw any plural marriage folks under the bus that might listen to the show, but historically, that's how it's been cast, that these women are not full equal partners to this relationship, that they're beholden to their husband and such. And so that's troubling on that kind of level. But a friend of mine from law school, or a classmate of mine from law school, I should say, who's a Mormon from Utah, grew up in this community, was having a discussion about the implications of plural marriage with this same-sex decision, because that's what everybody wants to talk about. And he said, and he was quoting a Slate article that I didn't read all the way through, but I was just kind of taking from what he was talking about, that when we commit to a marriage relationship, what we are doing effectively is committing to one person. Because even though we have different ideas about marriage historically, we used to think women were property, we used to think that we had to pay a coverture or a dowry or whatever, we used to think that people of different races couldn't get married. Like marriage has changed historically, but at the core feature of marriage historically has been not necessarily two people, but jealousy. And I don't mean that envy that I want what somebody else has. I mean that possessiveness. I'm going through that in my own personal life. I won't get too deep into it, but I have felt extreme jealousy over my partner, my wife, or my fiance, or whoever I happen to be in a relationship with. And it was beautiful what he said. He said, we have come a long way with our definitions of marriage, but at the end of the day, we're all still jealous. And I don't know that answers the question, but I think that explains why marriage is a unique thing between two people. I don't think it works as well with a group of people.
Well, the truth is it's not all that unique. I mean, it is a contract. I mean,
sure,
you sign it. It's a contract.
But you can have a contract between you and 5 other people.
Well, and that's true. And that's true, but it's still a contract, boiled right down. Most of the time when contracts are, as you know, contracts are usually between two parties.
Right.
Two entities, most of the time. Now, from Jason, he says incest is no longer a crime between adults in New Jersey and Rhode Island. In New York, a court allowed an uncle to marry his niece last October. At what point do you go, enough is enough? Really, where do you draw that line? Is there a line to be drawn from the left? Is there?
The legislation that he's talking about, it has long been on the books that certain degrees of consanguinity are eligible for marriage. Okay, in different particular kinds of states, and there is it has been held, it's never been held that those kinds of statutes do not transfer across state boundaries the way that DOMA did for same-sex couples. There's never been, as far as I know, a federal statute that has usurped I'm brain farting again. The clause in the Constitution that allows you to take your marriage license or your judgment in another state and enforce it. The free exercise clause. No, that's religion. Good grief! I'm having a hard day. I didn't get much sleep last night.
Just make your point.
But anyway, the point is this: that those sorts of relationships are as different from gay marriage, from same-sex marriage, as heterosexual marriage is from those kinds of relationships. And so, incest being illegal, I mean, I've heard that it's not. I know what the case that he's talking about. That's not exactly what happened. It's more complicated than it's just permitted now, but there are dynamics in family relationships that make marriage difficult. There are different kinds of things that it's not analogous to what a couple, what two men want that a man and a woman have. Those two are more closely correlated than these examples that you're bringing up.
All right. Well, it gets back to the slippery slope. I mean, the polyamorous. In fact, I deal with polyamorous couples in my. Well, first of all, I'm going to disagree with your characterization that these polyamorous.
That's been the criticism.
Couples.
That's not my
that has been the criticism. I don't agree with it. Don't get me wrong. There's abuse in regular marriages. Yep. There's abuse in gay marriages. There's abuse in relationships. However, the polyamorous people that I work with, it's all been voluntary. They all get together. They all go, well, hold on. This is how we want to live. Right now I have several that say, well, I hope gay marriage goes through, and that way we can all three have a plurality of a marriage. Is that something that you can support? Is that something you think?
Well, like I said, I don't necessarily, if it's a free voluntary thing, I just don't think that it's the same, because I don't believe that we have that. I don't know that it's ever been demonstrated the way that homosexuality has been demonstrated to be a characteristic of a person, where if you don't get to marry three other people, then you are harmed in some way. If the state prevents you from doing that, then you are treated differently the way that a same-sex couple is, or was, now that it's legal. To say when there's long been the retort from the right that says that, hey, you can marry whoever you want. We're not preventing you from getting married, but you have to marry a woman, which is, and that came up in oral arguments, and Anthony Kennedy kind of slapped it down. So basically, come on. We know that that's not a marriage. We know that marriage entails more than just two people living together and sharing responsibilities. It entails love and commitment and sexual intimacy and all manner of different sorts of things. And I don't know this. I don't have any evidence to back this assertion up, but I don't necessarily think it's ever been conclusively demonstrated that there is the same kind of need to be in a plural relationship the way there is to be in a heterosexual relationship or a homosexual relationship in the same kind of way. I don't know.
Right. We're going to be back with that right after this break. What is the difference between why give homosexual couples a break when we're not going to give polyamorous couples a break or GSA couples a break? That's basically what we're going to come back to next segment. What do you think? All right. He's good to go. And then we're also going to go on to the slippery slope, how this decision is also going to have a lot of unintended consequences, I think. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back right after this break.